My name is Joshua Rivard. I'm running for state representative out in the 81st district.
All right.
Thank you. Very red district. I actually come from Algonac, a city that voted for Trump so hard that we're us in the international paper twice. If you guys didn't read the article, the first one was very positive to Trump, and the second one was much more melancholy. And I think that's a good sign. It's a good sign that not just a blue wave is coming, but a blue tsunami.
Yes.
Something more. And that's why I'm here. I know I seem young. I'm only 25 years old. But that's why I'm running. My future is at great danger because of this administration. I had originally planned to work in the mental health field, to be an outdoorsman who try to help those teens who are suffering. I don't have a name anymore, I guess. From all those teens suffering from mental health issues, young adults, people struggling, just trying to understand and trying to make sense of this world. And to go to that level of education requires a lot of economic help, we'll call it. Expensive. I'd already finished a bachelor degree, and I am already drowning, already student loans. I was told I absolutely need it. And having seen my future being played like that, I realized that it was time, that something was broken, that it was time for something to be fixed. And my father is an engineer for the auto industry, and he told me that when something is broken, you roll up your sleeves, and you get your hands in there and you fix it. So that's what I'm doing.
All right.
I'm here to help fix it. And I can't do it alone. I absolutely cannot do this alone because I am one person running in a district of over 10,000 people. So I need all of your help. Everybody you can contact with, everybody you can meet with, everybody you can share my Snapchat, my Facebook, my Instagram, whatever. I avoid Twitter because that should not be a place to say official policy, I believe. So I'm protesting it. I'm not joining it.
You're behind the times.
I know I'm a millennial, right? He doesn't like social media. What's wrong? This whole world's gone topsy-turvy. And a celebrity's the president. But for my platform, there's 4 important things that I want to hit on that we've all talked about before. Except for one. My first important point is voter reform. I think the absolute core democratic values in this country are under attack with gerrymandering, with the desire to keep people away from the polls. Make it easier. Bring mail-in voting to the state of Michigan so you can vote from your home. Make sure that our volunteers utilize the schools we have to ensure that the next generation is civically active and can volunteer at our polling places. Because that's how I was taught in school, is to be a good citizen, is to be active, regardless of your political beliefs, and to enact change on a local level. So that's what I'm doing.
All right.
I also believe in education. As a son of a teacher for Lansing Public Schools, I believe it's absolutely important that we protect our teachers, that they have a good wage, that they keep their pensions, they don't have it robbed from them by the government. I also believe it is just as important to ensure that our students have proper funding. Because without enough funding, we are shoving 30 students to be taught by one person, and that's not quality education at all. 33 in some schools. In some schools, it's even worse. The deeper in Detroit you get, it gets worse and worse. Less accessibility to resources, especially those for mental health. For students waking up and having to deal with distressing anxiety of their home life from parents who don't get paid enough. Outside of education, I believe in obviously in infrastructure. I'm a cyclist, I have a car, I like to use the roads and sidewalks we have. I had to buy a mountain bike because the roads are too bad at this point. I own a car, I don't want to get a 4x4 because I can't afford that insurance. So what are you going to do? So I believe that it's time to not just fix our roads and bridges, but also our waterways and canals that make sure shipping stays open and is a major part of our economy.
Yes.
That also includes closing down Line 5, the thing that can absolutely destroy our water infrastructure, no problem. And even beyond that, the damage to our economy on a local level. We shouldn't have that wasteful material being pumped through one of the most important resources we have on this planet, let alone one of the largest sources of it. But outside of infrastructure, I also believe that there's another side of infrastructure we're not discussing, and that's digital infrastructure. We need to reinstate net neutrality laws. We need to protect the internet in this state. By protecting the internet in this state, we can create a culture for businesses to grow. We don't have to keep cutting taxes. We have to be willing to invite businesses in with just the infrastructure we have here. I also think it's important that the average person has access to the internet because it is a daily resource we use every day. I went on a bike trip for 4 months across the country, and there were 5 days where I didn't have a single ounce of cell phone service. If you could measure cell phone service in weight. I had no GPS, nothing. To feel so utterly alone, to feel so utterly desolated in a place like Death Valley, it's kind of terrifying in the modern age. And we're doing that to people who live in rural communities. I have grandparents living in Cadillac who still have dial-up. Remember that sound?
Yeah.
They hear it every day. They can't make a phone call sometimes. That's garbage. We're in the 21st century. Outside of infrastructure, I also believe that the economy, we have to strengthen the state economy. When the federal government makes absolutely bonehead decisions that cost, especially Michigan jobs, cost us tons of Michigan jobs, we have to have an economy that can take that brunt, some sort of cushion. And I believe that's in diversifying our economy, getting people to have fair paying jobs with good wages, to having careers and not jobs, to ensure that they can make the payments, that they can buy the necessities for life, and to keep the stores open and employ other people. Who would have thought paying a worker a fair wage would make business better? Except Ford figured it out over 100 years ago. Yeah. Maybe we'll get to that lesson in the history book soon. And the most important issue is something I call my central platform, my central beam, rather. It's not so much a plank as it is a dedication for my life, and it's a focus on mental health awareness. In 2011, I lost my brother to suicide. He was away in college. He was a junior. I was a freshman. I had just begun my career into history. After his suicide, I returned to school and began thinking about what kind of change I can make. And what I realized is that people are not discussing about mental health issues. And the more I research into it, the more I realize that it's something that affects nearly every single one of us. I have had my own mental health issues and battles. And there is nobody I feel advocating for me up there. Nobody is up there for a veteran saying, PTSD is a nightmare, I understand it. People who are saying depression during the winter is one of the greatest causes of suicide in rural areas, but nobody wants to talk about it. It's time we discuss these things, because many of us are suffering from them. It's time for us to be loud and to be visible, and for one of us to stand up and say, this is a real problem, and if we address it, we can help so many. We can make the lives better for so many, and we can generate so much more money. So for my platform, for my campaign, everything kind of focuses on mental health. The infrastructure, making it more accessible for people to get the help they need, to go to the doctor or even have Skype interviews with therapists in their own home.
Wow,
Yes.
yay!
Absolutely. Even living in Algonac with my therapist in New Baltimore, some days it's still a challenge to get out, because the roads have done a number on my suspension. That's this weekend's project. But also because we need to have education that has not only counselors for students getting ready to go to college, but counselors for students who are struggling with mental health issues as well. For students who don't understand their mom and dad are stressed and anxious, and that trickles down to them as well.
Yes.
And they need help understanding that at a young age. It's also important, that we protect our environment, because it's not just good for our economy, but it's also good for our own mental health. Just to be able to go outside for 20 minutes, take a breath, and return to work is massive. And it's something that we really need to focus on in this state.
Yeah.
It's really important that we get active. And I know I sit up here and talk about all these great things and we all applaud, but it's important that outside of this room we really get active, that we really start having these conversations, these hard, difficult conversations with our friends and our family, that we get them to register to vote,
Yes.
that we do things. Thank you. That we remember when the last day to register is, we get them to go. That we volunteer to get students to vote. That we go to things like protests or the UAW 400 event that Henry is holding. And it's important that we get involved and really speak, because the people in Michigan, they're all saying the same thing, Democrat or Republican. They're all saying the same worries. But if we get out there and be loud and positive with our image, we can incite change and bring the blue tsunami all the way to Algonac. And reduce the raising voter for Trump from 90, I think it was 96%. I was one of a few handful of people who voted for Clinton. Or we can see that number drop all the way down to 0, hopefully. We'll never see him again.
All right.
If you like my campaign, I have a website we'll be launching soon. I'm doing a big social media push, hopefully by the end of the week. But if you would like, I do have a campaign Snapchat, which is a first, I assume, based on no research whatsoever. But feel free to follow that for regular updates, pretty much daily. I also believe in, obviously, I believe in transparency, so I will be also offering for my campaign, and if elected, when elected, confident, right? Confidence. When elected, holding modern fireside chats, where I will talk directly with the constituents.
because I believe FDR really nailed it on the head, and we have the internet now. We should be doing this regularly.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much.